This is Eric Rattan of Cannibal Corpse. You are listening to the Scars and Guitars podcast with Andrew McKay Smith.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another installment of the Scars and Guitars podcast. This chat features 4 of the members from Melbourne-based outfit Stonetrip, yet another band proving that it's hard to go past Melbourne as the hard rock and roll capital. I'm going to say the Southern Hemisphere. Wow, based on the quality of the material that I've heard from Stonetrip, it's not a boast. You'll be hearing from vocalist Mark Ritchie, guitarists Mark Malusa and Jason King, and bassist Sebastian Barahona. I enjoyed this chat. I haven't done a bit of a conversation like this in the round. I'm so used to doing it one-on-one. It was quite different for me to have 4 people on the other side, but I think all of us handled it rather well. There's hardly any talking over each other, and I think the quality of the audio didn't scrub up too bad at all. Now, the catalyst for the chat is ultimately because I actually really like the band, but the group do have an EP in market. It's a self-titled EP, so Stonetrip, the EP. You can check it out now on streaming services, and I believe if you go to the band's Facebook page or website, you can follow the links and purchase physical copy. Just reach out to the guys anyway on Facebook if that's your thing. As you will hear, they're lovely fellas. Before we get to the chat, let's have a listen to the song that got me into the band. This one is titled Runaway. It's one of those killer, hard rockin', I call it metal. I know the guys have got a bit of a different take on it, but it's, it's hard rockin', metalified rock and roll. And you'll soon hear why I like the band so much based on the quality of this cut. Once it's done, we'll dive into the chat. Let's go.
Day shines, shuts the shade down. The sun is burning, my skin is crawling. Don't you love me, baby? Don't you love me? Don't you want me, girl? Don't you want me, girl? Don't run away, run away, run away. Don't run away, run away, run away. Nighttime calling, pull down the awning. Close my eyes, my mind is freaking. Don't you love me, baby? Don't you love me? Don't you want me, girl? Don't you want me, girl? Don't run away, run away, run away. Don't run away, run away, run away. Day is breaking, is that a cake you're baking? Time is creeping, we're not speaking. Don't you love me, baby?
I've had an awareness now through John and Mark about Stonetrip for about 12 months or so, maybe a bit longer. The first single that I was sent was Runaway, and I was impressed. I was both impressed and intrigued because I'm a sucker for hard rock with a metal vibe, and I feel like as though that summarises what you guys are all about. But do you agree?
Yeah, probably more on the rock melodic side of it, guitar-orientated sort of melodies as opposed to sort of a heavier sort of metal side of things. But
Runaway is very in your face.
Yeah.
Straight from doesn't give you a chance.
It doesn't.
You know, Runaway is meant to be just bang.
Yeah.
I guess the way it starts to just surprises you, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
and it was meant to be that way too. You know, it's really cool. And the actual recording, if you listen hard enough to it, that I just sort of take this breath just before it.
That's the intro.
Yeah, and Ritchie caught it, the producer. So it was amazing. It's just this sort of, "Hey," and it just goes bang, and it's in your fucking face before you know what's going on. So that's I love the song for that reason.
We've had good reviews with that song.
Yeah.
So that there's no frills, it's just bang, you know. And I kind of like someone thinking it.
Yeah, and it does sort of sum us up a little bit too, I think, doesn't it, Mick? Because we're just sort of, you know, there's a riff, there's the lyrics, there's the melody, and just bang, and if it ain't fucking broken, don't fix it. You know, that's kind of how we roll. So we don't really set out to brand the band as Stonetrip. It kind of just is what it is. You know, we don't know what it is, to be honest with you, and we kind of like it that way.
Yeah. I do love that song. I listened to it well after I received it. You know, the review cycle. I actually played it on the radio show that I got, or the radio show that I put on the podcast. And I even spoke to the song about you guys with Mark when I had a good chat with him. And I can't remember precisely what he said, but he mentioned something similar to what happened to me. Was that it was on in the background and he was doing something, and then he stopped doing what he was doing and said, "I need to pay attention to these guys." And that's certainly the same way I felt about it.
Wow,
Cool.
that's awesome. Great. It's
Yeah.
good.
Now there is a dynamic between all of the cuts on the EP. There's 5 in all. You cover a lot of ground. So how do you guys share ideas and make everything sound cohesive?
Interesting question. I think a lot of it's in the nucleus of how we write a lot of the time. So Mick, look, the demographics changed a little bit now too, with Jace coming on board as well and putting some ideas forward, which is what we're doing tonight a little bit, which is awesome fun. But I think initially the writing process was sort of Mick has got his background, which is sort of a lot of, you know, bluesy rock, sort of Zeppelin, Gary Moore sort of, if it's fair enough to sort of say that.
Gary, nice.
You know, those types of riffs and kind of things. And I'm a prolific writer anyway. So somehow we just managed to, Mick will send me a riff and I'll sit there and have a couple of joints, and the way I go, and I just start writing and throw it back, and, you know, before we know it, it's pretty much the way we've written the last few songs, and we get into the rehearsal studio with the boys and throw it at Sebastian and Connie, our drummer, and now Jason. And that side of thing, we're just pretty blessed to have that calibre of musician to sort of, you know, get it to where it needs to be. But most of it's just a natural progression with playability, I think, with the guys, you know.
Yeah, do you hammer things out in the? I mean, I know it's been really hard to do that over the past 2 years or so. But in normal circumstances, say when you were writing the EP, do you hammer things out in the rehearsal studio after you've shared the ideas as demos?
Pretty much I send all the music that I create in my own space to Ritchie as a whole arrangement, as a song already done. Okay. You know, with sounds, except for, you know, just what I think is a bass by the computer, then it goes to Sebastian. But most of the arrangements are done before Ritchie gets it. The rest, I think of it as he just got bits and pieces everywhere, you know, at that stage. You know, so now we're doing it a bit different, where we're, you know, getting together and putting, you know, other ideas from other brains into the mix as well to see what road it can lead to. But originally, them 5 songs, you know, like, you know, a few of them, the first EP was done on a wall, you know.
Yep.
Studio with a mate of ours who owned the studio, getting drunk and writing songs.
Yeah, well, that's what I did.
That's a good way to do things.
That first EP, and then we demoed it on that night. you know.
Yeah, well, that is funny because the way that happened was that, Mick and Tone invited me down and they were just, we got fucked up pretty much, and I just started writing shit and they kept playing it, and that was pretty much it. We had a bit of a session, and I think we probably put out like 3 or 4 songs or something, and we put it down and didn't think about it anymore, and I sort of pulled it back up and had to listen to it about, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 6 weeks later, and listened to it, and I rang Mick straight away. I said, "Hey, mate, this stuff, there's something about it. Not too sure what it is, but there's something about it." And at that point, Mick and I made a bit of a pact and said, "Well, all right, if we're going to do it, let's have a crack at it. Let's go our hardest, give it our all, and let's see where it takes us." And from that point, it's taken us to where we are now. So
Here we go.
we're just grinding away, and there's no formula to anything. We just believe in hard work, good vibes, good music, a little bit of a family sort of setup with the band. There's no egos. There's none of that stuff goes on. We're not afraid to nut things out with each other and stuff like that, and on we go, For as long as there's not an ego in the room, I think we'll just keep doing what we're doing,
Was the lineup changes, was that brought about just due to the whole COVID situation?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't want to go into it too much, but, our former guitarist sort of had his status and stuff, which is fine, and we respected that.
But he made that choice.
Choice.
That was left for him to decide if he wanted to stay, would then be things he'd have to do. But you make that decision, So
Yeah, it was not to speak of our former guitarist in a bad light. He's a great guy and he's still a great friend of ours. So there was no malice or anything like that. But I just reflecting back on it, I was actually talking about it the other day, and he said no matter whether it was our guitarist or whoever it might have been, decided to make that decision and based on their thoughts and processes and what they thought about it, which was fine. But as a result of that, they lost their job and, a 30-year music career because of it.
Yep.
But now, I say probably 6-8 months later since the transition's been changed, and now with masks coming off and you don't have to be vaxxed, and, he'll probably go back into some other music and awesome that he does that. But the funny thing is you pull all that apart, and at the end of it, and the conspiracy or the person who thinks that way may think, oh, well, see, I told you it wouldn't matter in the long run. But the point that got me was that, but you lost a career on the way.
Yeah, I call what you just mentioned there. I mentioned I'm a muso, but been in plenty of bands with people who swore black and blue, you won't bloody make it. And then you think, okay, but that's just what I call crystal ball gazing. I mean, of course, if you don't think you're going to make it, if you don't think you're going to put together a killer EP like what you guys have, it won't bloody happen. And if you don't think you're going to continue on with it, it won't either. It's a bloody hard grind being in. I know you guys aren't strictly independent, but you understand what I'm saying. You don't have that massive money behind you sort of putting you out there in the rugby league, matches or the AFL matches for you guys, that sort of thing, getting your music blasted that way. So you've got to sort of stick together and keep that team vibe happening.
Yeah, it is. And that was probably the saddest thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a hard hurdle to jump,
it was. It was really hard because we didn't want that to happen, But you've got to respect people's views and stuff like that, and it's our democracy, and may that remain, But at the end of the day, it's, I think it's a good point you made too, that if you look into the crystal ball and you can see that there's a bit of a future now, which I'm sure our former guitarist would have seen, but was still prepared to make that sacrifice for it. So that's a big deal for that person, and I get that. But, to look in that crystal ball, and if you can't see, we don't know what it is. There's something about Stonetrip. We don't know what it is. We don't give a fuck what it is. We like it. So, and that's the way we want to be. So, and we can see that. We can see there's something going to happen because, one, we want it to happen, and we're trying to make it happen without being too obvious about the whole thing. We're just writing our songs and trying to let our music and what we do speak for itself. And,
Well, that's the beauty about it too. We have control of what we write. We're not told to write in a certain fashion or a certain genre, or we need more top 40 choruses or anything like that. We have full control, and that's why the album is so, we cover a fair bit of ground, is because of the actual track we were writing at the time of how we felt, at the time. So, and we don't want to stop doing that, like there'll be a ton of rock songs, a ton of heavy stuff in the future, a ton of, different style,
It's funny, isn't it, though? But somehow we always know that whether we come up with something, we'll just go, especially Mick and I go, it's not Stonetrip or it's Stonetrip. Don't know what it is.
Yeah, but it's just the feel.
You just sort of, yes.
The groove and the feel at the time.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Our next EP that we've already recorded, when we're going to go back to the studio and finish off an album really soon, actually, and I think it's 16th to the 20th. We're back in the studio with Ritchie out at Light Hill, which is just an amazing process to go through. But the second EP will maybe an EP or an album yet, we're not sure. But the tracks on that are just, again, next level from what you've heard in your hand with that EP. We're just so proud of it, and we just can't to get it out there,
Has Mark or whoever been in talks with you about the potential to, say, bring what you're doing to the States, 5 or 6 gigs, that sort of thing? I'm not talking about a tour, but 5 or 6 gigs, that sort of thing. And even with your label mates, I think one of the best bands around at the moment in Shotgun Mistress.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we've had that discussion, actually, and we're waiting for him to he's in LA at the moment, actually. So there's, we're having a meeting with him when he gets back about the future of this band and certain projects. And
Look, the fact that Mark has got the interest he's got in the band is unbelievable for us. We've got somehow we've just built a great respect with each other, and I think it's because we're fair income. We're having a fair income crack at it, and I think Mark appreciates that and he respects us for it, because we're no bullshit. We pay our way. We're not trying to bleed a record company or a label to get advances or shit like that. We're doing what we're doing off our own back because we're passionate about what we do. So, and I think Mark really appreciates that, and we're grateful for the interest that he shows in us as a band. He's got a lot of labels and a lot of bands signed, and over 400 plus bands he's got on his label, and the fact that he gives us the time he gives us, well, it's pretty priceless for us, and we respect that greatly. So.
Well, it's not a genuine stage experience as well in the band, isn't it? Yeah, everyone's had lots of years on stage, lots of years touring away, and so I think we'll find out. We'll hit our straps in the live show.
We know how to do it.
Gotcha.
And I think that shows too, like even on stage, even with Jace just coming on board, we did a gig, our first show with Jace a couple of weeks ago, and it was just a natural fit. When you got someone who knows what they're doing, and I think I'm blessed as a vocalist to have that calibre of musician around me where, I still remember when Jace came in and auditioned with us, we'd done a couple and we were kind of in. And then he walks in and we're like, righty, eh? He just nailed the whole fucking operation. You know what I mean? And that was like, that's it. Not that we set a status or a calibre for the type of musician that we wanted, but he just fitted straight into what we do. So really excited to get some writing, and Jace's input already has been phenomenal with some new ideas and things we're doing. But it was funny, wasn't it? It was the first thing we said to him. It was like, it's got to be Stonetrip. He's like, what's that? And we go,
You'll know it when you do it. I will tell you if it's not.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sebastian, you've been a bit quiet there, mate. I like your bass playing. I'm primarily a bass player myself. I love that little run that you do there in Runaway as well. So do you have a philosophy in terms of the way you like to add your bass lines to a song, or do you just sort of let it rip, so to speak?
Yeah, I have different approaches. I like to be guided, and I also like to do my thing. So I sort of meet in the middle. Most of the songs have been written by Mick, the bass lines, like the basic, but he always tell me, like, play that, but then do whatever you want. And my background is in like Latin American music, rock as well, like classic rock, punk, and a lot of funk and jazz. So I like to have fun and do something when I can, but I love groove as well. So I always try to lay some fat, like foundation for everything. I hear everything. I love every instrument, and for me, I love music as an art as well. So I'm always looking to make things better. Not just bass. For me, bass is one of the jobs that it's behind the scenes almost, like make everything else sounds better. But if they give me the space, I take it like with no doubt. Yeah, I love being in the spotlight and in the backbeat. Yeah, that's my philosophy.
He's a very good looking boy.
Poster child. Yeah, you bring all the ladies in, Sebastian. I can tell. No, I'm gonna. You're right. You go.
I was going to say, I can tell Sebastian's got a great, knowledge of music and the way he's able to pick up those inversions and just really sort of highlight the music. And I think that, things that you're doing are definitely improving. A standard riff, you're adding some colour to it.
Yeah, well, it's part of the Stonetrip. Yeah. But we're not sure what it is, but it's good.
It sounds musical. It doesn't sound like just any other bass player. I think it definitely brings the music to life.
Like even just the bass parts in Runaway, like in the verses. Yeah. To me, that's amazing. My hair stands up when I hear it. But just that caliber of skill.
Yeah, I think it's the realness of it too. I love the realness of it all. It's just real playing. It's no bullshit. It's meat and potatoes. And that's what it is, with a little bit of maybe garnish on there.
But it's knowing when to play solid, when to play garnish, and when to add the colour.
Yeah.
And if there's too much, then you spoil it.
Yeah, bass is in a way is so quiet and so powerful because it has to be there in the right place in order to sound full. But if you play something a bit off, everything changes like straight away. So it's a big responsibility, I think. And I love to add a few different things, but for me, the consistency and the weight is the most important.
I think that's what I like about it too, actually. It's a good point, mate, because I really like when I listen to our stuff that you can pull a single instrument out of it. You know what I mean? I could just focus on the bass line and just get blown away by that. I can put that down and have a listen to guitars and listen to the drum tracks. So I think that's what I really like about it. I think it's not just that you can literally pull it apart and just enjoy single parts, which is I think is pretty special.
Nice orchestration.
Yeah, that's right.
I think you can listen to the song 5 times and hear it differently each time.
Yeah,
because you can spend the time on focusing on just what each part's doing. And appreciate it for that.
Yeah,
right.
Tell me about Ricky Ray and working with him.
He's a gem, mate. That boy, man's a genius. He's got ears like I don't know, from another planet.
What's his background though? Who else has he worked with?
Baby Animals.
Terrible Braithwaite.
Electric Mary, Truck.
Zuma Truck now.
Yeah, he's done a lot of things. He does a lot of, I don't quote me on it, but I know he does a lot of things through TV production as well, stuff like that. He does a lot of producing. I think it might have been, don't quote me on it again, I could be wrong, but it might have been The Voice or something like that. But he's very, very well respected, and rightly so. When we met him, he's a drummer. He's a brilliant drummer. He's an unbelievable producer. But the good thing about Ricky is he'll tell you, he doesn't overproduce, but he'll tell you, and he's not your typical sort of do it like this guy. He's just try this, and it's just it was like almost a 6th member in the band by the time we finished with it. He kind of, I presume he loved what we were doing, and we loved the way he went about it. So, but it was just little things, like he'd take the time to get his little piano and get that note spot on, or these guys are accomplished musicians in their own right, for example, in terms of tuning and stuff like that. They do it standing on their head and they've got good ears. But I think every time, he would have grabbed the guitar and gone, no, hang on, just, and it's
minor tweak.
Yeah, but to him it's important.
Just the options he gives you too. He gives you a whole bunch of options he puts a lot out on the table. Especially with guitar sounds. Like I didn't really like the guitar sounds at the start, but then I really heard them. I thought, mate, they're so good. You know.
So he's doing the finished piece. Before you had it.
Yeah, but even then I thought, oh, that's a bit raw because I need a type of sound to kind of to express what I'm, trying to put across. But just after he gives you these other options, it's like, wow, what a sound. He's fantastic to work with. Just amazing. I don't think I can work with anyone else.
Yeah, they set the benchmark, that's for sure.
I actually played in a band with him 20 years ago for about a year. And,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
So we go back a long, long way. And I remember in the day, he got me into Soundgarden. Like that was, he discovered them before me. And so I think what Ritchie was great at doing, he's an avid listener. He's not, whilst he's a contributor, he's a great drummer in his own right. He's got a rich listening history, and he really come out of that. Probably that grunge era is that vintage where the 90s were his thing, and that in some ways there was a period when we were calling it grunge at the time, but we look back now and it's quite hard rock, and a lot of the alternate tunings that were going on back then is what we're bringing back too, but in a different flavour. And Ricky was all over that, and he was always in the studios back then recording. So he's had sort of more than 20 years of actually practicing the art.
And he loves Rush.
Good fella.
Any producer who likes Rush, mate, you got me. So
what a setup he's got up there, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a beautiful property. It's like 60 acres up in the back of the country, sort of just the outskirts of Sunbury, Victoria, and it's just beautiful. The studio just out looks over a big field full of kangaroos, and you just don't want to leave the joint. Yeah. It's just a really, really good atmosphere. It's a good space to create. So, we really, really can't say enough about Ricky, to be honest with you.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. And what you mentioned too about being in a space which is conducive to creation is so important. The key word, less distractions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But even he said, like, one of the things he had, one of the ideas, like the new EP that he had, we had this song, and it was sort of working at, sort of, and it was like, and we weren't too sure. We kind of liked what we were doing. But, for example, Ricky just said, why don't you try this? Like, do that, do this line, that line there, do this and double it up and rah. And I was sitting there and going, fuck, I've got to write, that means I've got to write another line, right? And I was like, man. So... But we were there at his property. Just went out and snuck a joint with Mick in the van with a pen and a piece of paper, and it was like, how long did it take? 10 minutes? And I was like, there, got it. And just went in there and just put it straight down, and he was like, that's it. So, but to get someone to be able to put it across to you that way, where they're not fucking with your art, and just that's all for the betterment of it. And he's really, really good at that. And I actually would suggest anybody who does use Ricky that listen to the man and take on his wisdom, because he's pretty good at what he does.
It sounds like he allows you guys, or facilitates an environment that allows you guys to be the very best version of yourselves you could be in that time.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It doesn't change you. Yeah, just gives you the space to be you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when we were doing the vocals and stuff, just the way he gets it out of you. And it's a hard grind sometimes as a singer to just repeat lines, and, but he got me doing things that I didn't even think I could do, that I wasn't aware of, and he just taught me a lot. He taught me a lot as a singer as well in the time that I've spent with him, which, again, is just priceless.
Yeah, we captured it on record. There's no doubt about that. So for you, Mark, were there pertinent lyrical themes, or are there pertinent lyrical themes that you address?
Look, I think that it's subliminal. I don't know what I'm writing about when I write it. A lot of the time I'll write something, and when I write, I tend to write a whole song. So I'll write verse, mid-8, chorus in my head. Obviously it changes, but I don't specifically. It's been interesting, actually, because we've had to do blurbs for singles and stuff we've released, and, what's the song about? I'm sitting there, fuck it. So, but I think a lot of it's relative, because I've been through a lot of relationships and stuff like that. I've never been married. I've never had kids. I've always been single. So as a result of that, I've probably, had my fair share girlfriends probably more than I wanted and more than I should have. But at the end of the day, it was great fodder to write about, because there's a lot of different characters out there. But so, yeah, I'll leave that part at that. But, yeah, a lot of it just comes straight out of me. Very rarely do I sit there and theme a song and say, I'm going to write about this. The only probably time I've done that would have been with My Angel, which I wrote about my mum. So I wrote that about her, and that just came out of me. That was a pretty simple song for me to write. I didn't have to try too hard, but I didn't have to mess with it. That was the other thing when I write. I tend not to mess with lyrics too much. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. There's a reason I wrote it, and just sort of hone it from that point. But, yeah, no real formula or anything like that, but it is what it is. We're just writing this thing now, and for example, Jason's come up with a bit of a riff that we're really digging. We're just sort of mucking around with it now, but I've got a catalogue of lyrics because I'm a prolific writer, and it's a great thing to pull out and revert back to. So, one of the things we're doing now, I've pulled out an old song, the lyrics from like 2006. And, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's mine. I can do what the fuck I want with it. So, it's been really helpful, that little bag of tricks I've got.
Meant to ask this question earlier, but the introduction to Mark, how did that come about?
Well, we did a gig, and there was a young, good-looking blonde girl standing there. I didn't know who she was. And I went up and introduced myself to her, and which we tend to do with a lot of punters because we like the people. Not that it was, but we just introduced ourselves. She said she liked the band, and she came and seen us again. And she had an association with Mark, and she hooked us up to Mark. Had to push us a couple of times with Mark. Mark actually didn't like the stuff originally, believe it or not. Kim kept hassling him. So he went back and listened to it a couple, and then it got him. And so that his words, he goes, it got me. And, from then we built a relationship from there. So,
fair enough, yeah. Now, look, if you were each to pick a band or two each, we're limited to a band or two each. I know that we're all a melting pot of different influences and inspirations. We've talked about so many already, but if you could each pick a band or two each as the band that got you started, that you feel as though got you started. I might even add my 2 cents in here and say Living Colour and Faith No More. But for you guys,
what a band.
I've spoken to those guys a few times. So being a bassist primarily, Sebastian, I'm sure you can relate. Just the groove of that band is just unbelievable.
Everybody loves you when you buy.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, go. Mark, you start. If you're going to pick two bands that you think really got you started in this game, who would you pick?
Probably first up, I'd say probably Cold Chisel, Matt Finish.
Wow.
Those types of guys. I really like a classy band. Cold Chisel's early stuff to me was gold, and so was Matt Finish. Mother Goose were another band I was influenced by, believe it or not. I just like the way they went about it. But then I found Rush, and that was the end of me, mate.
He said two, mate.
That was it. That was it.
Oh, we can talk forever about this topic. I know it's a Pandora's box, don't worry. Mick, you go. Who you got?
The two. Yeah, I'll give you the two important ones, but the question was how you started. Would definitely be Kiss, 1973. As soon as I was bang, I was finished. And then Led Zeppelin after that. So, yeah.
Bit different from Mark's here. Got some Killer Oz rock, and then you got the classics there. The American classics, or British and American classics, I should say.
Yeah. I think for me, when I heard Jimmy Barnes sing for the first time, I was like, you're kidding me, aren't you?
Yeah, I've since developed a real appreciation, I've got to say, for Cold Chisel that I never had growing up. But, how that's come about is by playing covers bands. But playing their music, I just look so forward to playing Phil Small's bass lines and just what Mossy did. I think Mossy would be one of my favourite guitarists ever at this point.
Yeah, unbelievable player, unbelievable.
I will say, nobody else has his feel. That globally, I'm talking not just Australia. Yeah,
it's him playing, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Straight away, yeah, straight. I missed his solo stuff, unfortunately. Just commitments, family commitments or otherwise, but I wish I'd seen him. He's just a magnificent guitarist. And, mate, so who wants to go next? Seb, do you want to go next, or Jace, do you want to have a crack?
Yeah. Led Zeppelin, definitely. That's when I just first discovered this power of rock. And then thinking about the bass player, Red Hot Chili Peppers, I really like Flea. But Beatles is, for me, one of the most influential bands. Yeah, I said 3.
Is that on a bass playing level? Because that'd be interesting, because I love Paul McCartney's bass lines.
Music in general, yeah. But yeah, Paul McCartney's it's good melodies, as a bass player, it's great, simple, but not very, like, his technique, or not very fancy, but
not very complicated.
I mean, it's great. Bass player doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah.
But, we're talking about rock, Red Hot Chili Peppers and Led Zeppelin.
Very, very good choices. The only comment on Flea is actually, I think we're about the same age. Well, I shouldn't make an assumption, but I'm in my mid-40s, so Chili Peppers are right smack bang in the middle of when I was sort of coming up alongside of Living Colour, Faith No More, Primus, this sort of stuff. But, God, Flea stuff lately, I'm not enjoying his playing at all, I've got to say. I don't know whether you saw the American anthem that he did at the Lakers game recently. He just overplayed. And it was not good. Yeah,
now it's not that good enough anymore, I think. Yeah. But I'm talking about Red Hot Chili Peppers.
You can pick him a mile away too.
Yeah. I don't know why he did that.
Yeah, you get a bit old and you lose your ability to sort of, self-restraint, this sort of thing.
Yeah, but he's renowned for that, isn't he? He's always been renowned for that bass player that oversteps.
It's like a lead guitarist on bass.
I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's always been outrageous.
I really like a new song. The new song's really cool. Yeah. It actually reminded me of a little bit of the way it's sung. It said it reminded me a little bit of Rodriguez. Which is a bit hard. But
yeah.
I'm glad Frusciante's back in the band. I never thought the band that doesn't sound like them without him in it. And I think Jason Klinger, is that his name, does an okay job. But I mean that band, that guitarist for that band is John Frusciante.
Frusciante, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm actually listening to an interview with him at the moment on a podcast. Yeah, magnificent. So I'm only about a third through it, but I'll come back to it.
Cool. Jason, bring us home, mate. Who you got?
Oh, I've got about 8 bands that I've jumped in my head. I've only got 2. All right, well, if it comes down to rock, I'd have to say Van Halen for sure. Like for me, hearing Eruption for the first time, countless guitarists, we thought, what the hell's this? Felt like the hi-fi was blowing up, just couldn't work out what he was doing. But now, I know all the elements that make up that tone now, but back in 1978, I'm an 8-year-old kid at this stage hearing this thing for the first time, which probably even You Really Got Me. Great song, yeah. That was on the radio, and then that led me to Eruption, and I thought, this is just unbelievable. And then as a kid, I'd save up my $8.99 every 2 weeks and from my pocket money and go to Brash's and buy another Van Halen album and work my way through them all.
Was Tobacco Road David Lee Roth? Or
David Lee Roth, that was later. That was Steve Vai.
Steve Vai. That was a fucking crack tune.
Yeah.
Yankee Rose.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then, probably the next act that absolutely sort of tore me at my heartstrings was Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Oh, awesome.
So Stevie Ray Vaughan's ability to, I went through the whole phase of getting super fat guitar strings because he played like piano wire, and his hands were so strong on strats, and his ability to make, I just couldn't work out how he was getting this sort of combination of a clean and dirty sound all at once. And I got to see him live in 1986 at Festival Hall, and I was in the 4th row. I'll never forget the night. And his brother Jimmy Vaughan played with him, and it would have been at the height of when Steve Ray Vaughan was going through some major drug dramas. He wasn't there. You could tell he was all spaced out. But as soon as he played that first note, it was just it was a spiritual experience, I suppose. And just that tone. I don't think anyone's ever come close in that blues genre, at least that blues rock, and really that emotion in the playing was about less notes can be so powerful, you know.
Yeah.
And then his ability to soar with the clean stuff as well as the dirtier stuff, and then he moonlighted in bands like David Bowie. He played on a couple of his tracks and killed it. So don't get me started because it's
it's killer. It's such a topic.
You know, but for me, Zeppelin and Beck too. But I'm only allowed to say two.
Interesting, because we all sort of different, weren't we?
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Yeah, well, Led Zeppelin. I didn't mention Led Zeppelin, but that is just a little sliding.
I think even with the Steve Ray Vaughan stuff, like for me, I had a guitar teacher who was a Hendrix freak, and Hendrix is definitely on my list too. Don't get me wrong, but I just thought Steve Ray Vaughan took it one step further again. Perhaps it was a bit more polished, but Hendrix was obviously a pioneer and a freak in his own right.
Rory Gallagher, there's another one.
Yeah, that's the guy I probably missed. And a lot of things I think in life, you realise it, you find out about these guys years later, and you end up coming back and you go back. And I suppose my teacher taught me to start looking at who influenced the current bands.
Yeah,
and you start sort of going back and looking at who their influences were, and it's a whole massive discovery, and it's like a never-ending discovery.
Yeah, it never stops.
Yeah, you end up, I do that too. I go right back into the roots of it, and you always end up back with these guys like Hank Williams and Muddy Waters and B.B. King, and you just sit there for hours. I know I can do it. I just sit there for, especially did it through COVID, right? Not gigging anymore. Back into gigging now, but just do these YouTube dives and just performances, but by guys like Hank Williams and stuff, and just listening to this stuff and absorbing it, for the first time in decades, just having the time just to devote to, without falling asleep either, meaning that having young kids, right, normally I go, I'm going to put on some Hank and lie in bed, and the next minute it's 3:30 and, the thing's still playing and I've taken none of it in. But being able to absorb it, I think, and then sort of go off into different branches as a result of that. But I've got to say the one, and I know I've just mentioned Hank, the one genre that I still really can't dig is country. Not broadly speaking, there are splices of it, but do you guys feel the same way?
There's some good country. To me, it's too predictable. To me, as soon as I hear it, it's just that voice, that sound, that twang. That's it.
The guitar playing and a lot of it's amazing though.
Yes,
great. The actual type of song and the way the melodies, the tone and stuff. Yeah,
it's a broad scope country, but you're just talking about someone like Chet Atkins compared to Billy Ray Cyrus.
Some of it's always become 70s classic rock.
Yeah.
Some of it has, but it's.
I don't mind. I think it's got its place. It's a huge place, especially apparently in the States. It's massive.
Yes. I did the Americana Festival in Nashville back in 2002. Yeah, way back. But
finding out about a lot about it's not, Jason.
There you go. And that was with Casey Chambers. She was on that bill. Shane Nicholson, and then but you've got getting to see blokes like John Hyatt, who are all sort of old country.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot to country. There's so many different types of country.
But twang country can be yuck. Yeah,
the mainstream country, I think we're talking Garth Brooks and the like. Excuse me, but it's garbage. You listen to this stuff, and I've tried. Believe me, I have tried. You listen to it and think, how is this stuff? Garth Brooks at one point in time was the highest selling artist of all time. Who's buying this shit?
A lot of boot scooters. It's built for boot scooting. Added to the market.
Huge market in the south of the USA. Yeah. Lads, I'll wrap things up, but I'll hand over the floor to you guys in terms of are there any subjects or topics that you'd like to talk about before we wrap things up that we haven't?
Pretty cool. What have we got going on? What are a couple of things? Where's that?
Yeah.
Where's that?
So there's a fair bit going on, isn't there, guys? Like,
a lot of stuff going on. No, we're very excited. I can't
watch the video, leave a light on.
Yeah. We just did finishing off the film clip for our next song, Leave a Light On, which is we're stoked about that. We actually did the filming for it last weekend out in the back of Melbourne, out in the farms out there, which was a good day. So we've got one more little thing to do there, and that's Sebastian, because he's been running around entertaining, it seems like the whole country lately, running around. So we've got to get a little bit more footage of him, and that should be wrapped up. I think we've got the release for the singles when, Jay? I think it's the 13th of June. 13th of June, that's released for
For Leave a Light On, yeah.
For Leave a Light On. We've got some really good shows coming up. I think end of May, we're in Tassie doing Rose Tattoo. Got a couple of nights with them, which is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. We're pretty stoked about that. We've got another show, Screaming Jets. I think we've got a couple of shows with them in maybe June. I think that might be.
Yeah.
June,
July. Yeah.
July. We've got what else? We're doing an Airlie Beach Festival. I think we've got a gig there coming up in November. We've got another show through Anthem Entertainment, which is Ralph Thomas, for a headline sort of show, which we're really excited about. I think that's at the Palace in Camberwell. So we're looking forward to that. We're going back into the studio with Ritchie to record. So May, June for us is bring it on. We can't wait. We're just going to smack it in the mouth.
And we get that distribution deal for Universal as well, yeah?
Oh, yeah. That was the other thing too. We're pretty excited about that. We've got Al Gould. I don't know too much about the man, but he sounds like he's got a bit of influence over in the States. What are we doing with him? We're hopefully going to get over to LA. So we've got our fingers crossed that Mark's going to put us in his pocket and get us over there and go hit the States. But there's some really good, exciting things happening ahead that we're...
Even Sideways to us in motorsport.
Yeah, Sideways just got picked up for a sponsorship for with Ducati. Mm-hmm. That came out on social media today. That was just a blast to see one of those bikes around the track with the Golden Robot logo all over it. Now song Sideways behind it. We're pretty happy about that. I think we've got some other stuff coming up maybe with the V8 supercars. A little bit of a campaign for that using Sideways as well. So,
it is happening. Yeah, it's all happening. Yeah. Well, congratulations, guys, on what I've heard so far. Long may you reign in this world of rock and metal. I hope you achieve that broad audience that you so richly deserve based on what I've heard so far. Godspeed, and thanks very much for the chat.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
So there you have it, my chat with the members of Stonetrip. So I'll roll call once again. Guitarists Mick Malusa and Jason King, bassist Sebastian Barahona, and vocalist Mark Ritchie, all members of Stonetrip. So that's it for another instalment of the show. If you like reading books, I just happen to have written one. Scars and Guitars, Volume 1, Conversations from the World of Hard Rock, Heavy Metal and Beyond can be yours. I don't have any more physical copies left. They went very quickly. Turns out rock and metal fans prefer to consume or read material via physical copy, but you can go across and check out the e-version. Go to my website, scarsandguitars.com, follow the links, and you too can be the proud owner of my new book in e-form. My name is Andrew Mackay Smith, and that's it for another episode. Until next time, it is a very goodbye for now.